Hi, I'm Jeremy and I wanted to create another video today because I saw this video with Tim Pool. I like watching him because he has a fair number of videos that I completely agree with. I'm on board with it. But man, does he have some ridiculous things in other videos. And this is one of them that is just chock full of a bunch of nonsense where it's just the things that he says. And so this is going to be my response to this video called BLM Activist Proposes Black-Only Cities or Autonomous Zones in D.C. Democrats Warn of Civil War. There's not going to be a damn civil war. It's such clickbait nonsense. There's absolutely going to be nothing along those lines whatsoever. The union is not going to have a peaceful divorce. There's not going to be any kind of a divorce. For one big, huge, damn reason is because there are too many people who are just too damn rich and they operate within the entire country. Or at least they operate in red and blue states. And there's no way in hell they're going to give that up. There's no way in hell that they're going to make that more complicated. That there are just too many people who are just sitting pretty exactly the way that they are, and it doesn't matter how rich that you are. Nobody likes change, and the older you get, the more conservative you get with things, the more you like things to stay the same. And part of it is that I think because as I've gotten older, my energy levels have definitely gone down. It's like I think to myself, how much longer can I keep this up? Because it's like there's a lot of really physical things that I like to go out and do. Whenever I was young, I ran cross country because I could just run until the sun set. I was in the Army. I was a 19th Delta Cavalry Scout. Now I was just, let's just do this. And now it's like, oh man, I can still do plenty. But now I'm to a point where it's like, it's coming to an end. It's always too soon no matter what. And I don't need these changes. Fortunately, there are changes with computers and technology, so you don't need massive amounts of energy and muscle to be able to go out and to do things with computers and technology. So that's very nice. But it's also a lot to keep on top of. It's like I see little kids and they can just spit out, all these little text messages like mad on their phones or whatever, and it's like, not me, pal. Turn on that voice to text thing. It always screws up with what it is that I'm saying, but it's like I'm not doing that at all for 1 second, So and whenever you do the little swirly things to make, I don't care. It's like I got enough. I don't need all that nonsense. But Tim Pool's videos here, whenever he's on the media side of things and reporting on the lies that the media is doing, it's like, oh man, that's good. It's like, I understand that. Whenever he starts talking about his personal beliefs and views, it's like, you're pushing it hard. He sounds more and more like a conspiracy theorist as time goes on, and it's just like, I don't know. I'm not real thrilled with all the conspiracy theory stuff. I want facts. I want evidence. So, but anyways, this is going to be us going over the video. I'll have a link in the description below. And we're going to call out his BS on some of this stuff. And so go ahead and like, subscribe, leave a thumbs up, become a member. I've got Patreon, subscribe star. So let's go ahead. And so we're going to start off. So this guy right here, he's like in his early 20s. I think he said 21 or 24, and he's like nobody. He says it too. So we're just going to listen, and I'm going to pause. And so this is just kind of I'm going to go ahead and start playing around. This is just fair use of me commenting on Tim Pool's channel here and kind of dissecting it. So.
As an activist with Black Lives Matter for at least 5 years. I checked this by going and looking at some news articles and seeing that he had been quoted in other areas.
I don't care. It means absolutely nothing to me. I don't know him. It's just like whenever you watch a commercial and they talk about, oh, here with our soap, we have all these great, wonderful ingredients, and it's made from lilac and rosemary or whatever. And it's like, so what? I do not give a damn what the name of the ingredients are. So they stopped giving them pretty names. It's just like with the planets and stars. It's like, oh yeah, there's some really nice names, Jupiter, Mars, or whatever, but there are just more planets than we have names for. And that's why we start calling them P391 or whatever the hell it is. And it has nothing to do with one planet being better than another. It's just, we need to give it a name. And so they just start numbering these things. And it's the same thing with all these ingredients and compounds that we use and all this stuff. It means absolutely nothing. Just because it has a different kind of a name doesn't make it any better or worse than any other ingredient out there.
Again, I'm not going to pretend like this is the most influential guy in the world or anything.
That's right, he's not. You know, this goes in with like these people who I don't like these activist groups who say, well, we represent the black community. No, you don't. You know why? Because you don't have a community. You are just lying, and you're just saying that. You're self-proclaiming this. You are just, you yourself are proclaiming this, or your little buddies or whatever, and you're saying that we speak for the black community or the trans community or whatever. It's like, no, you don't. Because whenever that's real, you know what really happens? Is that people vote for you. That is exactly what the government is that we have representatives, and they represent our community because we voted for them. Nobody voted for these morons for a damn thing, and it's the same thing with this fool right here. Nobody voted him for a damn thing. He's part of Black Lives Matter. Who voted Black Lives Matter for a damn thing? Nothing. They don't hold office because they don't hold any kind of sway over anybody. They're just some morons who got together and said, let's form a club. It's like, you idiots. Part of the problem, though, is that people don't recognize that, say, that if you have like 1% of the population who's gay or trans or whatever, it's like, well, if the population is small, if that base number is like 100 people and 1% of those people are gay, well, then that's one person. It's one person. But whenever you have 100 million people and 1% are gay, well, that's 1 million people. So the percentage is still small, but because the base number is so large of 100 million, well, that's still 1 million people. And it's like, well, now 1 million is large. And that's exactly what this is. It's like, we've always had radicals, and we've always had these conspiracy theorist people and all this kind of nonsense with Vietnam. And they had bombings, they had riots, they had protests, they had all that stuff. It wasn't a lot. There are more people today, but it's still low. It's still like 1 or 2% of the population. And they talk about this because apparently they all live on Twitter. All these stupid moron radicals live on Twitter, and they only represent a small, tiny fraction of the population. But because the base number is so big, because we have like, I think we're around 350 million people in the U.S., because the base number is so large, well, that means that even though it's a small percentage, it's still a large amount of people. But it's like, that you shouldn't be looking at, well, it's still millions of people. It's like, no, it's not. It's a percentage. It's a very small percentage. The majority of people who I know who are in my life don't give two damns about politics. They're too busy living their own lives. They're working. They're spending time with their friends, their family, going on vacations, dealing with emergencies, car breakdowns, people getting sick, going to the hospital, whatever. And they can't do this. But this is what Tim Pool does, though, is that this is what he does all the time. This is what his friends and everyone around him does, and so it really consumes him. And he doesn't realize that he's one of these minority people. He's this little minority fringe activist who wants to spout off all this crazy conspiracy stuff, and it's like, you're an idiot. But it's like, how do you really step back and take a look at yourself and kind of put yourself in perspective? Because he's just like all my friends, is that they work all the time, they know what they know about, and to them it's really big and important with their jobs, and I don't see him any different other than what he's doing for his job.
Something like that. But I do believe it is indicative of a larger ideological push among Black Lives Matter identity.
Now, I will say that I think this is a little bit more prevalent with kids than it is with adults and the older that you get. But that's also no different than any other time. You know why? Because kids are dumb as dirt. Every last one of them. Whenever I was a teenager, I did not see it or think of it that way. Whenever I was in my 20s, I did not see it or think it that way. Whenever I was in my 30s, I started to see it because it was at an age where I was old enough where it was like, maybe I was wrong, because I can look at these teenagers in high school and it's like, yeah, now they look dumb. And it's like, well, why would I have been any different? Wouldn't I have been just as dumb as the rest of them? Wasn't I just a typical high school kid or middle school kid or whatever? It's like, duh, yeah, just an average kid. So I guess maybe I should think of myself being just as dumb as they were when I was that age too. And now that I'm in my mid-40s, it's like, same thing. Hasn't changed. Those kids are now in their 20s, and it's like, they're idiots. They're dumb. I see, and it's more available to see because they have things like TikTok. And it's like, I don't have TikTok. I don't, because it's a Chinese spying app from my understanding. But you can still see it on the computer, and there are people like Temple. There was one where Ben Shapiro was showing this TikTok stuff, and this girl on TikTok, she literally just made up pronouns right there on her little TikTok thing. And it's like, it's just a bunch of garbage, every last bit of it. And it's like, yes, these teenagers and these 20-year-olds are idiots. And they want to, they talk about it like they're never going to get smarter. It's like, I did. And everyone that, well, not everyone, but there's a lot of people who are my age, who are in my 40s. And it's like, yeah, we all see these kids as still being dumb. Because, even though I may not have kids, I've got plenty of friends and family where it's like, no, I've seen their little babies grow up and saw them grow through their teens and they're in their 20s now, and it's like, yep, they're dumb. They're dumb. So it's like, yeah, anyways.
Vegetarians, of which is some...
So I will say, though, that is kind of a problem because I do think that we can fix that. And the website that I'm going to build, yes, because it's going to be built off of truth and facts. So it all has to be built off of evidence. You can still give your opinions on things or whatever, but it's going to be labeled appropriately. So, for example, the Big Bang Theory, it's like, do you not listen to the last word? It's a damn theory. And you can say, yes, it's a very highly recognizable theory, and there's a lot of evidence to back it up. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I'm tired of all the lies. And so an obvious lie is like, well, we have 72 genders. It's like, no, you don't. There's only 2 genitalia. And we know enough about those 2 genders that if a girl wants to attempt, which she can't, but she can attempt, but she'll never succeed in becoming a male, we know one of the things that you have to do is that she's going to have increased testosterone shot into her body because she doesn't do it on her own at all. Nowhere near the amounts. It's like, okay, well, if there's 72 different genders, what shots do you need to get the proper hormones in your body to meet those things? There are none, because they're completely made up fantasy BS. Why is that going on? Because of lies.
Kind of balkanization, racial segregation.
I do not care if people want to segregate themselves off of race, values, whatever. I don't care. Do you, dude? I do not give a damn. I give a damn if you're being forced into doing it. It's like, don't come to my house trying to force me into someplace, into moving someplace that I don't want to go. It's like, that ain't going to happen. But if I want to move someplace, it's like, well, yes. And if a place wants to set up, and they have these things, HOAs, homeowners associations, and they want to restrict that stuff, fine, no problem. As long as everybody in that community agreed to do so, it's like, I don't have a problem, or at least an overwhelming majority, and not like just a minor majority of like 51%. It should be pretty clear that that's what they want. But we have those things now. And you know what? It's fine. It's no problems. The only time that there's ever a problem, because you can see videos about this online with YouTube, for example, people are all outraged. It's like, you're idiots. Did you not know what an HOA is? They have all these bylaws. The community did it this way, and it was apparently in a way that you liked it enough that you decided that you wanted to move into it, but you didn't even take the time to be able to read the bylaws to see what was exactly going on. It's like, you're an idiot. I don't feel sorry at you for being lazy and stupid.
And we've seen it pushed in many different ways. There is the very famous diversity, inclusivity, and equity training where they...
Now, I do have a problem with that. It's like, do not tell me that somebody is better or worse because of the color of their skin or their race or whatever. It's like, no, absolutely not. That is not it. It's based off of your values. And this is why if you forced everybody into different groups based off of those things, they're not going to get along. I have known plenty of white people who are absolute trash. And I would just love to pound them into oblivion because they are garbage. Just because they are white does not mean that I'm going to get along with them. Absolutely not. And it's the same thing for everyone else.
Segregated it based on race. Some people could be you can go to the training if you are white or if you are POC or not POC. We saw, I think it was in Michigan, where they had the cafes for non-POC and POC individuals.
So what? I don't care. Who cares? No, wait a minute. I take that back. Whenever it is a public-run business, it's like, no, you do not get to discriminate. You don't get to do that at all. It should be completely illegal anywhere because there's nothing anybody can do about that. So whenever you discriminate against race, sex, color, national origin, genetic coding, and then religion, but religion is a separate thing. This is its own separate beast. All these other things, they all have one common trait, and that is these are all characteristics that you have no control over. You have no control over where it is that you were born, whether if you're male or female, the color of your skin, your genetic coding, blah, blah, blah. And because you have no control over it, that's why you cannot discriminate against those things. That's why they've made it illegal, because there's nothing you can do about it.
And many people basically said you're creating like a white-only digital meeting space. We've seen more and more and more of this.
However, if you want to create like a business and you want to make it a private membership kind of thing, it's like that's different. And they have those things. It would be like the Boy Scouts. You know what? It's not open to the public. You have to apply to become a member, and you have to join to be the Boy Scouts. Now, obviously, it's very low. In order to be a Boy Scout, you have to be a boy. But now I don't think they really have the Boy Scouts anymore. I think it's just the Scouts, and it's boys and girls, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous because they had the Girl Scouts, and if they wanted boys and girls, I don't know why they just didn't create the Scouts. So then that way they could have had the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, and the Scouts, so it could have been... Well, why did they have to go and do that? Could the girls not figure it out on their own to create this if they wanted to have the boys and girls? I mean, why couldn't these people who wanted a mixed thing, why didn't they just create... It's the same thing whenever it's something like comic books or movies where it's something that's already established and then they want to race swap or gender swap because whenever I hear that stuff, it makes me think, well, oh, what? So are these women or minorities or whoever too stupid and too pathetic that they can't have their just their own thing? It's like, why can't you just create a new character? It's just like there are websites online where you can go and you can watch these Star Wars movies from other countries where they're speaking French, they're French actors, they're French directors, special effects are all done over there in France, and just because they've given the Star Wars name to it, they're horrible. They just suck. It's because of the writing with it. And it's the same thing with all these. Is that, well, just because you put Star Wars or Marvel, that doesn't mean that it's just automatically going to be good and you can just swap them out. It's because of the story behind them. And these best stories that are out there, they're based off of values. And those are things that every single person can attain, no matter what your color, no matter what your race. It's like one of the reasons why somebody might like Captain America, it's not because he's a white guy. It's because they will do it together. We're going to fail. Well, then we'll do that together too. It's because people like that. That no matter what, we're in it together. And who can do that? Who can be a part of this? Everyone! It's so stupid.
They call it caucusing, or they call it affinity groups. In Sacramento, the school district actually proposed creating white racial affinity groups to have white people share in their white history, and that to me is...
I don't care. People want to share about their history. I don't care. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and if they want to make a club and they want to have a membership and they want to do it and they want to call themselves Black Panthers or White Panthers or whatever, I don't know, whatever, it's like, go ahead, knock yourself out. I don't care. As long as you're not forcing anybody, it's like, go ahead, you go do you.
It's just absurd. We are moving backwards. Now, at a time when we are...
If you're being forced to do it, then yes, we are moving backwards.
We're talking about an increasingly positive sentiment towards U.S. balkanization. We're hearing conversations about civil war.
No, no, you are. Because again, this is what you do all day and night. You know what I hear with civil war and balkanization? With all of my friends and family and everybody that I know? Nothing. Because nobody gives a damn. Because this is not their job. They don't deal with politics. You do. And they live in this little paradigm of this little echo chamber, and that's what they hear all the time, and it's like, and they start going crazy and start seeing all these conspiracy theory stuff, and then you get somebody like Alex Jones. And so I see him going down the road of Alex Jones, and I don't like it because I don't agree with that crap that comes out of his mouth either.
And Joe Biden himself says that the Republicans...
I do not give a damn what Joe Biden said, whether he's president or not. Stop acting like this is the first damn president who's come along who said stupid stuff. Joe Biden says stupid stuff. So did Donald Trump. So did Obama. So did George Bush. George W. Bush used to get made fun of all the time because of the stupid things that came out of his mouth, and he had problems speaking half the time, and he just made up words. It's like, what? And you know what? Nothing's happened. I mean, yeah, it slowly kind of goes downhill, and it's because the lying has gotten worse, and I think there's really big problems with lying. But, I mean, that's kind of obvious because even in my life, with the lies that have happened between me and my friends and families and strangers, it's like, yes, lying is obviously a problem.
Republicans' voting laws, the Republican voting bills they're proposing, are the greatest threat since the Civil War.
What do you expect them to say? Oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I think the opposition has got it pegged on. It's like, no, if that's what they thought, then they would switch sides. Why do you act surprised that the opposition is opposed to it?
That is the perspective of the President of the United States.
I do not care. This is not the first time. He's being so blown up over nothing that has happened 1 billion times before.
Of America. You don't have to like the guy, you can disagree with him, but the dude sits in the office and is saying right now, if Republicans want to pass these bills, they are threatening us more so than the Confederacy did. Now that's insane, because
it is nothing new. All politicians say these loud, bombastic, just pieces of trash statements constantly because they're allowed to lie. It's like, is that statement true? No, it's not. And there's no repercussions for them at all whatsoever. You know, it's just like these Texas Democrats who fled the state. It's like they all should have been fired. Who gets to leave their job and flee the state? You would be fired for doing that. How are you going to come to some kind of agreement on a bill if you are not even there to go and do your job? If I was a Democrat and I found out that they left, it's like, no, get your ass back to Austin and talk to those people so you can make something happen. There are no Republican Texas senators in D.C. They're all in Austin. Go talk to them and do your damn job.
Because many others, at least half the country, at least every Donald Trump voter has the perspective that Democrats' lax voting bills are a bigger threat. The president himself.
Congratulations, you just pointed out two sides of an argument.
Is saying we are facing this threat. If you are an adamant supporter of the Republican Party, of which there are at least 75 million, he's saying what you would vote for is a bigger threat than the Confederacy. So we have this article. Many conservatives are mocking Ken Burns for saying that this is the most fraught time in American history, and they're laughing, saying, the Civil War was crazy. Are you nuts?
Like, because it's true. It's because of what I was saying before. Because of 1% of the population. So in a way it's not, but in a way it is, because the base number has gone up. So in a way, yes, there are more people, so in a way it is worse. But at the same time, it's not, because it's still just an extremely small amount of the population. And that's why the overwhelming majority of people do not know or even care.
And I'm like, dude, just because we had a civil war does not mean we are not entering a worse period. Where we are right now may be the precursor to something truly awful.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know what? You do not know a damn thing. You are not a mind reader, and Twitter is not the pulse of the country at all by any stretch of the imagination. It is a left-wing echo chamber for like this much of the population. The overwhelming majority of people in the U.S. do not have Twitter accounts. I do not have one. I do not want one. I don't know of anyone in my life who has a damn Twitter account. Now, maybe it's different with younger people. It could be. I don't know. Maybe so. But I don't know of anyone who has one of those damn Twitter accounts.
I hope that's not the case. But there's increasing sentiment. And when the president himself is no longer
Stop acting. This is something that I criticize people for, is that they want to treat the government like it's some kind of religion. They want to treat the president like it's a god, and like the laws are some kind of holy book Bible kind of thing, and America's heaven. It's like, no, they're not. The president's just a damn man. He's a politician who's just spouting off a bunch of stuff because it's his job. You're acting like, oh my goodness, he's acting like a politician. What the hell did you expect him to do?
Addressing the Republican Party or Trump supporters. Clearly, this country is more than...
And you think Obama was any different? Obama was doing the same damn thing. Obama made it worse. Obama created this huge divide whenever he was president. And you know what? It's not like Bush did a real good job of it either. You know, so it's like, don't tell me this. I mean, Bush was, he didn't make things good. He didn't make things worse. He just kind of, because he was kind of bumbling with all of his speeches. He was not very good at speaking. There were some that were kind of good.
Justified. It is bifurcated completely. So I'm, unfortunately, bullish on the idea of some kind of collapse or break apart or loss of confidence. But I'm not convinced any...
There's a lack of confidence because there are too many people who are lying, who are manipulating the system, and it's on both sides. I blame all these politicians. Do not tell me that we should be having problems with all of this stuff with votes. That in Arizona they are going to count the votes again because they found all these irregularities. I don't understand for one damn second how nobody's come forward and said, this is what we need to do. It could be something like you go to the voting place in your area, and whenever you cast a vote and you're done, you put it into a box where it's like a big metal box or wooden box, whatever kind of box, a box that would be hard to break into, and it's got locks on it. It's got a little slit so you can put your vote in there, and nobody there can open up the damn thing. Nobody, so nobody can mess with it. And every single box is numbered. So they know, all right, at this location, they're going to have 100 boxes. And then those boxes, they're going to be taken to a counting center. And at this counting place, it's going to be all glass all the way around so everyone can see in. And it's going to be just a few people in there with tables. And they're going to put all of these ballots into a counter, and it's just going to automatically count these things, and it's going, whenever it's done counting these things, it's going to go into another box that nobody can touch. And that way the only people who have touched these damn ballots are the people who did the voting and the people who are just putting them into the sorter so they can get counted. And you know why we can do this? Because we already have them. They're called money machines. You put in like a $1 and you can get like 4 quarters or $5 and you can get the quarters back from that. Or whenever you go to like Walmart and you go to one of those automatic checkouts, you know, it's like, oh, you owe this amount of money. You owe $21.50 and you put in a 50 and it will give you back your change because it can read the bill. And so it can give you back the other bills and the coins that you need. So if we have the technology already, why aren't we doing that? So we could do that. And we could have it where it doesn't matter if the ballot is upside down or not, because we have that with bills. So we could do the same damn thing with these ballots. So all they would have to do is just make them so that they all stack on top of each other. You know, that you get them all and they just stack them up and then they put them in and just and they just get counted and sorted automatically. This isn't rocket science. You don't need a degree in nuclear engineering to be able to do this stuff. And then if they want to go back and recount, then they do the same thing. All right, well, it's these boxes with these votes that we have a question about, and we're going to go in. And it's the same thing with the programs. It's like, why don't we have our voting programs came from the Dominican Republican or something like that? They weren't U.S. It's like, why? Well, why was this not just done in the U.S. by some kind of third party? I mean, I guess you could say, well, you would want it done outside of the U.S., so it would be a third party entity that was doing it. But why the Dominican Republican? Why not somebody who was just at least a first world nation? At least, it's like, it makes no sense, and it's stupid. There's no reason for it at all. But why does it happen? Because there's too much lying going on with all this nonsense.
Anybody knows exactly how it will play out. I think civil war is possible, but regional conflict probably makes more sense.
No, it doesn't, because nobody's involved with this, because people do not live out in the boonies where they just drive their head into the sand about politics. They're just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe all this is going on. The only reason why he's got this stuff is because he hears of one thing over here in California, and then he hears of something over here in New York, and he hears something over here in Arizona, he hears something over here from Mississippi, and he puts it all together, and it's like, oh, this is a conspiracy. It's like, no, it's not. It's no different than with these school shootings. It's like, do school shootings happen? Yes. Is one going to happen at your school? No. In the town that I've lived in, I don't know of any school shootings that have happened. No, maybe somebody with a gun, maybe some little kid shot some other little kid over some little fight or something, but not some kind of big mass shooting, where some crazy person came in with all these weapons and started shooting everybody. Nope, doesn't happen. Same thing with this. Yes, if you drag it all together from all over the country with these sporadic things, then you can get something, and that's the only way that you can get it, and that's exactly what this nuthead is doing with this.
And due to some polling and some conversations, I think balkanization might actually be the likely outcome. That is to say, each different region may just form its own union of like-minded individuals, and more people are...
No, they're not. You know why? Because we're not like-minded. We are not like-minded. You know why? Because we are infinitely different from every single person. We are not robots that come out of some factory with all the same kind of programming. The family that I grew up with and my education and the money that was available to my family through my parents and their working in the house that we lived in, and the teachers and their level of competences, every single thing is different. Where I'm living now and my life standard now, it is completely different and unique to me, even with the neighbors that I live around right now. I am not like my neighbors. I have a neighbor across the street who is an elderly woman. It's like, I'm not elderly, I'm not a woman. There's an elderly man who lives across the street over there who doesn't have any of his hair. I don't fall into any of that stuff, the things that they have in their house. Next door, it is a Hispanic family of like about 4 kids and a couple of grandkids. It's like, I don't fall into that either. Next door over here, it's vacant. It's like, I don't fall into any of this stuff, and they are right next door to me. What the hell are you talking about?
Filtering themselves by ideology. People in big blue cities are leaving.
By ideology, my ass, man. What another damn lie. It's like, I don't think and believe that anything that any of these other people do either. We all have our differences. We all have different activities and different things that we do. And we it's just all different. Just because they're my neighbors doesn't mean a damn thing other than they're my neighbors.
And going to bluer states. And people who are Democrats in red states are leaving to blue states. People who are conservative in blue states and cities are moving to rural areas. Case in point, myself. Lived in New York.
You are not a case in point. One person is not a case in point in nothing. I hate this. I remember this really just pissed me off where there was... I think it might have been Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump whenever they were running and they were going at it, and some woman stood up and she was like, I don't understand why we don't do funding. I lost my husband from this and he was so sick. And it's like, because everybody has problems and there's a million things that people are sick of. So an example of this is that there are literally people out there who are allergic to water. But it's like this many people, and it was the same thing with this lady. It's like there weren't a lot of people who were afflicted with this. And you know what? There are just some things that we can't do anything about. Just because you found somebody doesn't mean a damn thing. You are not a case in point for anything, you lunatic.
Moved to the Philly suburbs because the suburbs are better, and now I'm out in the middle of nowhere.
Don't care.
People are filtering themselves. The more they do this...
Congratulations, that's been going on forever. What, you think you're the first person who's moved because they didn't like where they were? It's like that would be a really large reason as to why the majority of people do this crap. You're an idiot.
The more likely we are, in my opinion, to head towards some kind of peaceful divorce or major conflict.
No.
It's funny that they would mock this idea.
I know of no one who's just gunning up, ready to go for civil war. I don't know of one single person who's like, we got the Civil War coming, let's go buy some guns and ammo, because we got to be prepared. I don't know anybody who's doing this. I don't know what you're talking about. I cannot relate to this fool at all whenever he talks this garbage.
Yeah, that we are in a more fraught position, that conservatives would do this. And I'll point to these, and I'll read through the story and talk about these individuals. When you have
I do not care, you stupid child. I do not give a damn for 1 second that you found these weird people scattered across the entire country, you stupid small brain child.
Story like this. A BLM activist who ran for DC Council. That's basically the local government for DC.
Oh my God. Someone ran. They didn't even win, but they ran. It's the end of the world.
The federal, jurisdiction. He wants to create black-only cities. Now,
you think he's the only one? You think this hasn't happened before? You think Black Panthers didn't talk about this before? What the hell are you talking about? This is what happened in Oklahoma. They had this one town where they had the black stock market, and they segregated themselves, and they had their own separate economy. This isn't anything that's new.
I hope whatever balkanization hits, it...
Here, let me pull that up, because I know that's not very common. So let me pull it up to show you. So here it is right here. Tulsa Race Massacre took place on May 31st and June 1st of 1921 when mobs of white residents, some of them deputized and given weapons by city officials, attacked black residents and destroyed homes and businesses of the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma, U.S., alternatively known as the Tulsa Race Riots or the Black Wall Street Massacre. The event is considered to be one of the worst incidences in history. Of course it is, because they all are. Doesn't matter. Well, I guess this one, yeah. More than 800 people were admitted to hospitals. As many as 6,000 residents, black residents of Tulsa, were interned in large facilities, many of them for several days. And it was horrible. And part of it was because they were doing so well, and they'd segregated themselves off. And this is back in 1921, and you can look it up on Wikipedia for a start there to look into this further if you want to, but they had a few people in some planes. I think they were like crop dusters, but they were dropping like mocktail cocktails down on people there or whatever, and it was ridiculous. The whole thing was stupid, and it was just so this isn't anything new at all. What did I do with Tim?
Will not be based on race. And I should say, I hope it doesn't happen.
I don't care. If they want to do it, if they want to be like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they want to segregate themselves based off of race, and they all agree to do it, go ahead, knock yourself out. As long as you're not hurting anyone. So what happened with that Tulsa massacre thing was absolute trash. But up to that point where the black community, if they wanted to do it and they wanted to base it off of their blackness, it's like, so what? It didn't hurt anybody with anything. It was these white fools who came along who retaliated for some made-up bullshit reason. It's like, yeah, that was wrong. So
I hope we get through this. I don't want China to take over. The United States, the U.S., needs to stand strong. Let's read this story.
I agree with that. And I want the U.S. to stand strong in a few key values. 3 of those that I strongly agree in is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's like, yes, life is precious. Do not kill people. Life is precious. Do not dictate to others what they should or should not do. You are not God. You do not know what is really right or wrong. That is just your perspective on things. So mind your own damn business. So life, liberty, so the freedom to be able to live that life to the fullest as you see fit, and not what somebody else tells you. And the pursuit of happiness. Because how can you pursue happiness if you don't have control over your life and being able to make those choices on your own? How can you do that? How can you be happy? How can you pursue your happiness if you're being dictated to? In other words, being treated as a slave. Makes no damn sense whatsoever otherwise. So, yeah, everyone needs to understand those things.
So I stopped.
And I do not understand why we are not taught those extremely well in school. We are founded on those principles. It has served us well. We are one of the strongest nations in the world. Maybe the values that the country was founded on should be given more attention than what it currently is.
Stop ranting. Before we do get started, head over to timcast.com, become a member, and your blinds aren't framed poorly or now subscribe to do more. It's how we press. The reason I refer to them in the thumbnail, Sarter's proposed legislation would create autonomous African American zones within D.C. complete.
Who cares? I don't care. Let them.
Saying that if it
This is one of the problems, though, with all these places, that these are large cities with huge amounts of diversity in them, and they don't relate to each other. Well, why the hell should rich people be telling poor people how to live their lives at all? It's like, if they don't want to work 80 hours a week and they want to spend their time being with friends and family instead of being materialistic, that's their choice. Who are you to say that being rich and materialistic and being a slave to work is good? Screw you. Get the hell out of my face with that crap. You know, there are plenty of people out there that they love their friends and family and they want to spend time with them. Screw that nonsense.
If it passed, it will preserve.
Same thing in reverse. Who are you to go tell rich people that they're working too much and they have too much money? If that's what they want to do, let them, man, go get an axe, knock down a forest if you want to. I mean, just work until your heart's content. Don't care. You do
predominantly
you.
African American sections in D.C. as historically
I gotta move this forward.
West directly. They were basically like, well, someone who is trying to be aligned with you, and a president who says that the
because at this rate I'm never going to get through the video if I don't skip through it. So again, I'll have the link in the description below if you want to watch more of this and make you lose your hair like I'm doing here, because it just drives me up the wall.
The laws you deem necessary are the greatest threat since the Civil War. Y'all need to wake up. The president...
You need to get your head out of your butt and go do something else, man. You're full of it, man.
President himself. I can already hear a lot of people screaming about what that statement really means. The president, yes. Joe Biden, he's in the White House. Kamala Harris, VP, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And they come out and say, you, the United States. They go on a report. Ken Burns, don't watch my Civil War documentary, which proves me wrong, says Dan Gaynor. Seriously.
Let me move it forward more.
Anarcho-tyranny. Andrew Cuomo of New York murdered 15,000 people. He was warned, if you put sick people in the nursing...
He's so double standard with all this stuff. He says, depending on the video, he'll say, COVID's not that big of a deal. There's a 99% survival rate. Children don't have to worry about this. And then he's like, COVID killed these people. It's like, what makes you think that if they were in a hospital or this medical shit that New York had, that they were going to live anyways? That if they got COVID, which every place is going to get COVID, what makes you think that they were going to live any better? That if their health was trash, if they were old already, what makes you think that it was going to be any different? You are making assumptions that you know what Cuomo was thinking. That those were his plans. No, you are making assumptions, you liar. You do not know what was going on through his head. You are 100% making assumptions. And nobody will ever know, because nobody can read minds.
Homes, you will kill them. And he had them...
No! Nobody was saying that. You know why? Because nobody knew what COVID was about. They were saying this stuff in a way, saying that you could kill. You could. But they were also saying, we could save you. And they were saying that stupid crap like, well, we're running out of ventilators. And you know what they found out? Ventilators had nothing to do with it at all. In fact, there were many cases where it actually made things worse. And they stopped using them. That's why you stop hearing about them. That's why you don't hear about them anymore, because they don't do anything with anything. But they were trying because they didn't know. They did not know. And whenever he was doing all of this stuff, he didn't know, because it was brand spanking new. No one had heard of COVID-19 until all this happened. So, no, shut up.
Mercy at his disposal, the hospital ship. He had the Javits Center at his disposal.
Let's take this from the other one. Let's say they put them in there. What's the guarantee that they were going to live? Where is this magical guarantee that if they had gone there, that they were going to live? Even for one. Just one. Tell me where this guarantee is. There's none. You know what? Maybe these people died because they were just old and sick already, and they were just going to die regardless. Do you think that if these people were gone, that there was a guarantee then that COVID wasn't going to hit these places? That if you had taken these people out, that there was now like a magical force field around these nursing homes, and that COVID wasn't going to be able to get in? That there still weren't going to be these nurses and people who work there, that they could have still gotten COVID and brought it in? Or do you think whenever they hit this magic force field, all the COVID was going to burn out of their systems? What the hell are you talking about?
And he knew that if he put sick people in those places,
he did not know. Just like you don't know right now either.
He'd have to give Donald Trump credit. So he chose instead to murder 15,000 people.
No. Liar, liar, liar. Assumption.
Now, as to what his true motivations were,
what are you talking about? As to what his true motivations were? You just sit there and told us that his motivations were to kill these people because he didn't want to give it to Donald Trump, and he knew it. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? How can you say that he's there to murder them and you're going to guess about his motivations?
Personal opinion. For all I know, the guy's just dumb.
What is he saying? Just shut up, Tim.
But do you think anyone will go after this man? No. Dr. Fauci, man.
Maybe there's a reason. Maybe because there's no reason to go after him because nobody knows what COVID is. Even today, they're still unsure with so much of this stuff. It's only been around for what? A year and a half or 2 years? I mean, the flu has been around forever, and we still get flu shots every single year because we don't know how to deal with it. But yet you think magically we know how to... Get the hell out of here.
See that exchange with Fauci and Rand Paul? When Rand Paul says lying to Congress is a crime, and this is gain-of-function research.
Now that I do have a problem with. Is like, if he is lying about this stuff, it's like, yes. But you know what? Even if he gets caught and it's like, yep, he lied about all of this stuff, what are they going to do? Nothing. It should be an automatic thing. It should be set up where I do not trust people at all, and it should be within the computers, and that if the computers get the verdict that he's guilty, then it should be something like, well, you're at least going to get this minimum sentence where you're going to have these minimum fines and these minimum sentencing terms or whatever. And the judge is only going to see how much beyond that, we're going, at minimum, we're going to have to fine you like $10,000, but it can go up to $100,000, and it's up to the judge where to actually put that number. It's like, oh, well, I think we're going to fine you $60,000 or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah.
And Fauci says, no, it's not. You see his hand? I watched this video where Fauci's sitting there. He's shaking.
Oh, my God, that's it right there. Oh, when have you ever been pulled over by a cop, or you've gotten in trouble with your boss or a teacher and you weren't nervous? Happens to me. I'm not thrilled to see anybody accuse me of anything. Well, why do you think that Fauci's some kind of miracle person and he should just be thrilled? What, do you expect him to get up and start doing cartwheels? That these allegations are being brought against him? That this could end up being prison time? This could be the end of his career? Well, what do you mean he shouldn't be nervous? That makes no sense whatsoever. It's just a person.
He seems terrified.
Oh my goodness. Why is Fauci? He's just scared. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know. That dude's old as dirt too. Maybe he's got some kind of medical condition. Maybe he didn't take his blood pressure medicine, for all I know. You're making assumptions again.
By what Rand Paul is saying. Fauci lied. Do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry. He lied? Where's your proof? Because I saw that previous video that he was talking about, and it wasn't. It was assumptions again. And you know what Tim Pool is not? He is not a lawyer. And all these things with being a lawyer is complicated. There's a reason why we go to court. It's because one little minute detail with two cases that may seem identical, one minute detail can completely change it, and that's why you have a different verdict. And this is why we go to court all the damn time. Because no two circumstances are exactly the same ever. There's always differences. Everything's like this. It's just like all men and women are not the same. Well, why do men get paid more than women? It's because they don't. Because men don't get paid the same as men. Women don't get paid the same as women. What the hell are you talking about? Everything is unique and individual. Everything is unique and individual. I'm a unique individual. My circumstances are unique and individualistic to me.
Anyone is going to hold him accountable. No. Now what can we do? Take care of yourself. Be calm. Be smart.
Be calm? This is all you've been doing is yelling through half the video. Well, what the hell? You hypocrite. It's like, rules for you, but not for me. I can blow up and be all lunatic-like with all this stuff, but not you. It's like, shut up, man. No, be dramatic if you want to. I mean, don't go crazy and start doing stupid stuff on the street, but if you want to get excited about it, it's like, so what? Bring your facts and your evidence, but...
Be focused. Be reasonable. Last thing you want to
You're not being reasonable because you're just making one stupid assumption after the next.
do is panic. We can already see...
Panicking. You're one to talk. You are just living off of fear and panic off of this whole entire video.
that there is a strange fracturing happening within this country.
No, there's not. No, there's not. You have found a bunch of random weirdo people scattered across the nation. Go outside your door and go talk. Go to the largest, biggest city and go start talking to these people and find out how much that they know about government and politics and what the hell's going on. You're not going to find it at all. They're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? He even talks about this. He talks about how he talks to his friends and family members. He's like, oh, well, I didn't even know that was going on or that was a thing. Duh.
And the idea that simply because we have not broken out into all-out war means we're not in one of the worst periods of American history, to me is patently absurd. Third,
You cannot compare the Civil War to today. Everything has changed. From the technology and the innovation that we have to our education to our resources that we have available to our fingertips, you can't compare like that. You can't compare like that. That especially that is so far in the past.
37.2% of people polled.
Maybe you can take a few little things. And I don't give a damn about polls that much. You know why? Because you know how many times I've been polled in my life? Zero. I've never had a poll come before me. And I don't know of anybody who's ever been polled on anything either. So don't tell me about these polls. You know what, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of this stuff is just cherry-picked.
There's about 2,750 people, which is, as I'm told, for polling, actually a really good...
I do not care. Because who are these people? Where did they come from? How did they figure these out? It's like, because I'm in my mid-40s and I've not been polled once. And I know of no one who's been polled.
Sample size, 37.2. I did the math. And in the South, it's...
Oh, you did math? Ooh, I'm surprised your IQ went up that high, because after everything that I've been hearing so far, it's like your IQ's not been very impressive so far.
44% with 66% of Republicans. In the West, it's 47% of Democrats. This is...
Well, that must be all the evidence that I need to freak out.
Massive, in my opinion. So I am worried about it. Here's what we...
I do not care if you're worried about it. You are worried about a bunch of other nonsense, too, so...
to do. Build culture, first and foremost.
No. I do not care. Culture matters a little bit. So, for example, we are able to drive on the streets at high speeds in these big balls of death of metal, plastic, and glass, surrounded by complete strangers, because we have culture. We have custom cultures and traditions. And our traditions, our customs, that whenever we get on the streets, we have these rules that we all follow. And whenever people don't do it, we freak out, because if you don't do what you're supposed to, people just do whatever the hell that they want to. That's how people die. It's like, no, you don't get to drive in whichever lane that you want to. You don't get to drive at whatever speed that you want to. You don't get to turn wherever the hell it is that you want to. Custom culture and tradition is good. We want people to be on the same page with things, especially whenever we're out there in public. Because in order for us to be able to get things done with all of these massive amount of strangers, we all need to have the same base foundation with a lot of these things. So, yeah.
Be peaceful, persuasive, and resourceful. You see how Joe Biden and the Democrats use what happened on January 6th to their advantage. Because look, the people on January 6th who stormed these barricades and tried to go to the Capitol, it was wrong. It was wrong to do, and it was stupid to do. Now again, I know a lot of people were doting about and didn't know what was happening and were led in by cops, but you can see it. A guy who did not commit any acts of violence has admitted by the court 8 months in prison on a felony charge. Yet there's a...
Don't care at all. You know why? You know why I don't care? Because I don't do that stuff. You know why I don't care what happens to BLM and the rioters there? Because I don't do that stuff. You know why I don't have to worry about going before a judge and the DA releasing people or not? Because I don't do that stuff. You know why I don't care about the Proud Boys and the DC riots and the DAs and their cases and what kind of sentences that they're getting? Because I don't go there and do that stuff. You know why? Because nothing changes. That's not the way that you change things. You have to work the system to get what you want. And that is not working the system at all. That is you just doing whatever the hell it is that you want to. Because I'm special and I'm privileged, and because I'm here, I demand to be listened to. It's like, I'm not listening to you for a damn thing, you stupid... No, you're an idiot. Bring your points, talk to me, make it worth my while to join you. Because if I'm not going to join you, I'm not going to listen to you just because you yelled the loudest, because you went somewhere and you held up a sign. A sign doesn't mean a damn thing to me. You yelling doesn't mean a damn thing to me. You throwing stuff doesn't mean a damn thing to me. You can all bite me, every last one of you. Black Lives Matter, boys, or Proud Boys, or whatever, you can all just children, every last one of you.
Video of a guy fighting cops, fighting federal police in Portland. No charges.
Don't care. You know why? Because I don't fight with police. That if I want to change in the system, then I have to do something like I'm doing right now. And that is, I need to create a system. I need to work within the system. I need to do something. And going out there and crying and having a tantrum isn't it. Whenever I see people throwing tantrums, I think there's a child in an adult's body. That's what I see every time I see that.
If you cannot see that happening, and you think
you're right, I can't see that happening because I'm not a child.
Everything's fine, then you're willfully ignorant. I'm sorry.
No, you are ignorant. Man, talk about setting your standards low and aiming low. You're an idiot. You haven't said hardly anything that makes any sense this entire damn video.
Now, I don't know that there's actually going to be a civil war. I don't know.
That's right. You don't know anything. You can't read other people's minds. You can't see into the future. Just assumptions.
There's actually going to be balkanization. I don't. Of course not.
That's not the way that you're talking about it. You're talking with this with some pretty damn strong confidence, like, this is just the end of everything.
I'm only saying one simple thing.
No, you're not. You have said several things. You have made several predictions. Shut up.
And I'll phrase it in the form of a question. Since 2010, and maybe even Obama, maybe even before.
You think people weren't criticizing Obama? It's like, yeah, they were. Were people criticizing Bush? Yeah, they were. Were people criticizing Clinton? Yeah, they were. Were people criticizing Reagan? Yeah, they were. Were they criticizing Jimmy Carter? Yes, they all get criticized. Every last one of them. Why do you think that this would stop for any president?
Let's start with the culture war because, I can speak to my personal experience, and that's my bias.
Yes, it is obviously your bias, and you do it way too often.
Admit that. Occupy Wall Street. We have seen...
Which is why, whenever it does come to journalism stuff and the news, because that is his experience, he is really good at pointing out the fake news and lies and how they get away with that manipulation. I really like those videos that he does. But this stuff, the further he gets away from this and the more he gets into like lawmaking and legislation and policies, the more into cuckoo land we go.
We've seen a dramatic escalation in the fracturing between the culture war left and the culture war.
The fracturing is happening very little, and more, I think more so with the little kids, but it's nothing new. It's happened forever. Is that because there's too many people who lie, and they get away with it. And I want to make them accountable. I know exactly how to do it.
Right. Since Gamergate. I mean, but really,
Anyways, how long have I been going at this? I'm probably way too long. An hour. And I skipped ahead, and we still got what? We're 21 minutes and 24 seconds into it out of a 33-minute, 28-second video. It's like, I'm going to stop. An hour's good enough. I'm tired of the lies, and I'm tired of all this kind of nonsense, cuckoo stuff, because it happens all over. Even though I like Tim Pool, it doesn't mean that he's perfect. I'm not perfect. And I'm not here to change your mind. If you like Tim Pool, like him. If you don't like him, don't like him. I don't care one way or the other. The thing that I always stress at is that I'm not trying to change your minds. I'm trying to expose lies, whether if they're intentional or unintentional. I want you to be able to get the best, most accurate information possible. And then, people can put their spin on it like Tim's doing right now. I really don't have a problem with that. I feel like people kind of get too caught up with this, and it's good to have a good solid feet on the ground instead of your head just up in the clouds all the time. I think being too well grounded is also bad too. It's like, yeah, don't be naive. It's like, yeah, there are bad people. They do bad things. Politicians, again, whether if it's intentional or not, it's like there are things that we can do. Like I was saying with the ballots, it's like nobody should be touching those things. The people who sign those things and do, their voting or whatever, they're the only ones who should. And then it should go directly into a lockbox that nobody has a key. And then they just get transported to where they're going to get counted. And they're the only people who have the key. They're the only ones. So nobody else can get in them. They can't be messed with. And it should all be open in glass, under security, limited people in. But everybody should be able to see through the glass and take video recordings. It should all be completely transparent. There should also be like cameras up all over the place, and so then that way you can see every last inch of it 24/7. It's like we have a $9 trillion budget for the economy, and we can't afford to do this stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? And if for some reason if a box gets tampered with, then yes, that would be merits for doing some kind of a recount or revote. So don't tell me that we can't. We absolutely can. And we're just talking about boxes and sorters. It's like we've had those forever. We could really go crazy and be like, okay, well, we're only going to allow these people, and they're going to have to go in. They're going to have some kind of touchscreen stuff, and we're going to take their fingerprints and iRetina scans, and we're going to have them verified through national security, like 10 times over, and their friends and families, and background check the past 10 jobs that they had. We can go nuts with this stuff. So then that way that we're really hounding in on these people instead of just random people from just the Democratic Party or just the Republican Party. We could have an equal mix of both, and hopefully a third group where it's like, I don't care about either party. I just want the truth here, and my ideas don't lie with either party, but with just honesty and truth seeking. It's like, yeah, that's great. Don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. I don't buy any of it at all. And so if you've understood all this and you agree with this and you're tired of the lies and you would like to see a website come up that is built on the foundation of facts and evidence off of science of things that can be proven, then give this video a like, give it a thumbs up. If you've understood it, if you're not stupid, like this video, subscribe, become a member. I've got a Patreon and Subscribe Star, which would really help out a lot. I try to make these videos a little bit entertaining. I don't want to just sit here and kind of be bland, so I do like to get a little animated with it, at least to a point. So I do hope you've enjoyed that a little bit, and we'll catch you again later. Thanks for watching. Bye.